Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Be the Media Huntington. Tonight is Wednesday, September 26, 2018, and I am Jenny Lee. Tonight I have with me Miss Dana.
Hi, guys.
And Miss Lisa.
Hi, everyone.
And we don't have Mr. Maverick this week, but that was sure fun last week.
Also, I wanted to say something really quickly before we even started the show. I received some feedback in regards to the show. I just want to make a full disclaimer, okay? We address issues that are brought to us that we feel is important. Although we may take a cynical or comical tone to certain things, we take it seriously. But at the same token, everyone should understand we have lives, things happen. We are all very active parents, grandparents, and people in the community. So you as the viewers should understand that, and you should appreciate when we have these things, because you can see that we really are doing this from our heart. Because Lisa last week had to do her show with her grandson. I've had to conduct a show driving. Jenny has come in like in a second from band camp and put everything together. So instead of criticizing us and saying that we're just comic relief, you should really pay attention to some of the things that we talk about, because despite what we have going on, we still think enough of the community to still come and give you our viewpoint and the information we researched. So we're not a comic relief. We are actual people that we live in your town, and we give you the information that you may not be privy to because you're working or you're doing other things. So just keep that in mind, that we have real lives. So before you criticize us, understand that this is free. We do this out of our own hearts, and we love it. We are dedicated. So I just wanted to give that little disclaimer.
I'm actually really funny, so I take that as a compliment.
You're crazy.
On that note, I do want to give a shout out to my husband. I made sure that I dedicated 8 o'clock to tonight to my community, to be here with you guys and my ladies. We do not monetize our videos. We do not make money off of this. But I wanted to give a shout out to my husband because he covered Meet the Teacher Night at the high school for me.
John.
So that I could be here with you guys, and he's signing me up for all these teacher conferences. And I'm very about that, but I just thank you, John. You are the best. Get the best husband award tonight for taking care of your kids, right? He likes to say taking care of his kids. Okay, so ladies, first up, the board meeting that was last week on it was Thursday. Yeah, it was Thursday. It was our day after our meeting.
20th, yeah, the 20th.
Mm-hmm. And you'll notice that our cover photo this evening was a clip from Newsday talking about the appointments for the housing board. Nobody has anything to. I'm not saying it all. Come on, pick up a ball.
I
would like to say congratulations to Jim McGoldrick. I think any board that he's on is definitely going to be exciting and fun, and I think he's definitely gonna rattle some cages while he's there. So I'm sure some people will be questioning his choice soon enough, but I think it's great. I think anybody that gets in and change doesn't happen when we're comfortable. Change happens when we're very uncomfortable. And I like people who are able to make institutions in government uncomfortable as possible, because that's when you know the status quo is changing.
The only thing that I will say publicly or privately, depending upon who I'm talking with, is congratulations to Jim McGoldrick. I wish him all the best, and for the first time, that's all I have to say about that.
I'm gonna tread around this very lightly. I'm very upset over some of the people who were accessed, and I believe
talk about that or not.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and leave this one up in the air a little, because the people who know about this, they know. But it speaks to the question of taking people who are loyal, having them completely rearrange their lives for you, and finding out in the end that it was all just to squash something that obviously scared you, and it had nothing to do about the person. But we all now clearly see that there is no loyalty.
Oh gosh, sorry.
Really disturbing. Really disturbing.
So I can't tell you how many people are so upset over it. I can't even begin to tell you.
I lost sleep over it. It really is disgusting.
I took that personal for multiple reasons, and I'll be honest, I still haven't gotten over it. I think about it at least 6 times a day. And how do I know? Because when I'm going to work or when I'm doing something with it, I think about it, because if I reach out to you and I say to you, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, and you rearrange everything for me, the least you can do is look out for me, especially if you know my personal livelihood and you know what's going on in my personal life. And then you do nothing to interject or warn me or do anything when you know something that is not favorable is going to happen. I think of that personally, but I also think of that as somebody who's a registered voter, because if you do that to a so-called friend, what will you do to me, someone who, from my understanding, because I'm a little chunky, you may look down upon? All these things are now muddling in my head, but the most thing that stands out that has caused me to lose sleep, not one night, the night since I found out, was the fact that this is a real person that I know.
Right. We
all I love. I don't like him. I love him. He is one of the most down-to-earth people you could ever come across.
Yep.
And this is on a personal level. I don't know anything about work. So my question is always, what does he do now?
They say too, like, and I'm getting upset because, again, we know this person.
And I was getting choked up.
I know. I'm like ready to lose it, like I did on the funeral episode that we did.
I started to get it in my throat. That's how I was like.
They say, we're appointing people. They give us, when we keep bringing up, listen, you guys are just appointing. It looks like Tony Teep is in charge. It looks like the leader of the Republican Party is calling the shots and making the appointments from the types of appointments we've been seeing. And every time we question it, we're told, well, if you were elected to this position, you would want to surround yourself with loyal people too. This guy was the most loyal guy, had your back years before you hired him. And this was the payback. It was never about him. It was never about his quality of work, which is the excuse that they use.
But that was given. You're right. You're absolutely correct.
It was about, in the beginning when he was hired, and he was strung along for 6 weeks over an ethics review, over, how do I tread lightly here? Out of owning one of the very few local media sources in town.
That wasn't bought and paid for.
Exactly, that wasn't bought and paid for. And we talk about this often. One of the reasons that we also felt that we wanted to continue this show after we did our original purpose was that nobody was telling what's going on hyper locally here in our town government anymore. And it seems, and for all appearances' sake, he was hired and fired just to squash it.
And well, I hope he unsquashes it and comes back with a vengeance and tells the truth.
I do too.
I really
hope he comes back with a baseball bat.
Me too.
Meaning, that's hyperbole. I don't want anybody to...
Again, I was about to say.
Okay. Yeah, it's not like I actually wanted to pick up a real baseball bat. The baseball bat is the local media source. So before anybody thinks I'm putting out a call to actual violence, because people are very weird about that stuff.
Hypersensitive.
Yes, hypersensitive. We can't even joke anymore about stuff.
No, hypersensitive is
super.
The correct.
How about if you say he can roll up the bat?
Yes,
come out swinging and come out swinging and let everyone know what's going on.
Exactly. And honestly, if he's listening tonight, not only do I love you, my cheese, but I am hurt, and all of us are. We have all been grieving this for 6 days now. We've communicated a lot about it. Okay. On that note, we're kidding. Don't want anybody to forget that the Meet the Candidates night is coming up. Lisa?
Yeah, it's coming up tomorrow, 7 o'clock at the South Huntington Public Library, sponsored by the South Huntington Station Civic Group. It's Sam Bifolco.
7 p.m., right?
7 p.m. at the library.
Cool. And, oh, I only found it really because you posted on it. Another upcoming event that we have. Let me find it. Maybe you could talk a little bit about it, Dina. Mm-hmm. The pizza crawl.
Yes. So there's an event called the Pizza Crawl, and we came up with the idea. So it's a group that is run by David Brown.
I got it for you.
He has a few admins on there. I am definitely one of them. I know Allison is one and Amy is one. And if you're in the group, you know you're from Huntington, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But we did a post. David actually did a post about pizza, and it got an overwhelming response because they said that, we don't have good pizza here in New York, blah, blah, blah. So he decided to come up with something. He reached out to his admins. We talked, and he decided to come up with, the pizza crawl. So we'll pick up the top 5 pizza restaurants that the public has voted on, and we'll go try them. And we'll see who has the best, I guess. Like Uncle Giuseppe's one of them.
Is this just zip code 11743 or 11746?
It's the group is from, you're from Huntington.
Well,
I would assume it would encompass anybody that's in Huntington, whether it be Huntington Bay, South Huntington, Huntington Station, whatever one we share. But everyone is welcome.
It says Francesco's, Giuseppe's, Johnny D's, Little Vincent's, and DeRamo's.
I don't even know who DeRamo's is, but
what?
Never been to DeRamo's?
Never been to DeRamo's?
I use Lanona's. I used to use Francesco's. I use Lanona's and Francesco's. My children are very picky about pizza, and we used to use Zara.
DeRamo's is like the best. I've tried Lanona's. That's over by the dentist Super Smiles on Jericho, right? They're pretty good. Yeah, DeRamo's honestly is the best. How have you never been there?
I go get pizza at DeRamo's and then go down to Milldam and hang out and chill out.
It's down by the old King Cullen, which is now the Stop and Shop down in Huntington. You know where that weird building was being built by Albert's Mandarin?
Yes.
Okay, down there, then across the street from the grocery store.
Near the movie theater?
Well, kind of catty corner to the movie
theater.
Yeah,
it's been there forever.
I've never even heard of them. I have to try it.
It's before Seaholmes Liquor Store, which has the cheapest liquor in town. I think they have really good discounts there.
You know you're from Huntington if you know
where the cheap
DeRamo's.
Hang
out there with my orange hot rod with my Camaro. Pizza and then go race around town.
Yeah, they've been there forever.
Never heard of it. Been here 15 years, never heard of it. No one in my circle speaks of it. So I guess I will learn on this crawl how great DeRamo's is.
You'll see. Yeah, you'll taste it.
I wasn't born here, so I'm down. I love pizza, so I don't care. I'm not going to Giuseppe's because I don't like that sweet stuff.
I can't have the seeds, so I can't eat Giuseppe's. I can't do seeds. And they have seeds on everything.
Sometimes
they have seeds all over the crust.
Yeah, some put it on the crust.
That's what they're kind of famous for.
I'll pass.
Their sweet sauce.
Pizza is evil to me.
Why?
Because I love it.
Me too.
Oh, and it just. I love pizza, but I also like wearing a size 8 again. And pizza does not help. with that.
I've decided that I've had 5 children. I've just embarked in a new age group. I'm gonna live my life.
I am too, but like the hot flashes are gonna be coming, right? And
oh no, not yet, not that far, but
well, not you're much younger than I am.
Really?
I'm close to. When did they start with you, Lisa? Did you get them?
Everything with me is early. So I'm done with it.
Because you had other stuff going on.
Yeah, so 51, and I'm already over all of that stuff. Pretty crazy. It came really
I almost want to go get a hysterectomy to avoid the hot flashes, because I heard that you get to skip all that stuff. If
but mine aren't that horrible, really. I mean, I got hot. I have a fan.
Okay,
so in front of my fan until I feel better.
First hot flash, or at least I think I got my first hot flash. I'm not sure. And it was hot and scary, because then I said, oh my God, I'm old, but I'm already a grandma, so I don't even know why.
You got a little fan like this?
I think I'm going to need
more hot flash.
Okay.
Here.
So I don't even know what to segue to with what I have left here.
Well, what you know, we always
okay, so I'm getting so old that the children are taking over the schools.
Well, you can now. That's an excellent segue, because according to what you just said, you're not accustomed to these things happening. So that's actually an excellent segue into it. Because
yes, I'm not accustomed to what's going on either. The first time we had a walkout in our schools was when the March for Our Lives from the Parkland shooting went. And believe it or not, it's funny. I want to say that everything else that we have to talk about for the rest of the segment kind of stems, but it's all a big part of everything. So, because it involves our resource officers, our schools, what's going on in our schools. So we're just going to jump right in it. So Parkland happened, the shooting, and March for Our Lives got in all the schools, and there were walkouts. And I didn't like it then. And if you go back and you review what we did last year, this time we did discuss it. And I didn't like the walkout at all, because it's not equitable to all students. And it's basically putting politics into our schools. However, I've been told our children are allowed to practice their First Amendment on the school grounds at any time, so they have rights. And I think they've gotten to the point where they have so many rights, they now do rule the schools. Because this was not the only walkout. We just had a walkout on Monday, and it was, I traced it back to try to figure out where it was coming from, because they had said that the walkout was to stand in solidarity with women of sexual abuse. And who's not going to stand in solidarity with people who have been abused? Like, of course we're going to stand. Why wouldn't we? I mean, most women have had some sort of sexual assault or something to that degree happen to them in their lifetime. So of course we're going to stand with it. But when I traced it back to its original source, it came back to support Dr. Ford Blasley, and the other woman who came forth with her issue with the thing. And then, of course, it was on Monday, so this other woman that came out with her story today wasn't included. But they walked out, and it's a national issue. We're not going to get into where we all stand on it, because truth of the matter is none of us have any facts. None of us.
Factual sexual
nobody does. In fact, the entire
okay.
Senate Judiciary Committee has not even seen the original letter that Dr. Ford sent to Ms. Feinstein. But the whole point of this was, and why it's local, is because there was a walkout at our school. And I don't like getting texts from my daughter during school hours asking me what she should do. I entrusted you to the school. She shouldn't be having any questions with these people are walking out. What should I do? And not understanding. And not to mention the conversations that we're now having to have in our kitchen and the subjects, which on one hand, I'm grateful that I get to be the person who talks to them about these and there's an opportunity there. And the other thing, I'm just so angry. Why are these things being inserted into our schools to begin with? So that's where I'm at with that.
As a parent, I'm going to be honest. I only have one daughter. Of course, I'm a woman, but I only have one daughter. I have 4 males. So I'm not going to say, which side is right, which side is wrong, right? That's a national issue. I personally believe that children should be able to express themselves at school. That's their given right. I do believe that in the age of social media, because everything is so at their fingertip readily available, we would do a disjustice by not allowing them to express themselves.
Except,
what I don't like.
What if there's a policy? I have to get my child out of school. My child's not allowed to leave school grounds or outside of the door unless they're signed out by a parent. I have to show my identification at the front.
Right.
Send a message for them to call my student to come down to me, and my student has to walk out the door with me. That's the school policy. So how on earth are they allowed to walk out as a group onto the school grounds, putting them in the school in a position of now having to protect 2 bodies of students?
Well, when I was going to finish saying that, I do not agree with putting children in an uncomfortable position. I believe children should be able to go as far as they wanted to go on an individual basis. I don't believe that every child should participate, or they should feel the pressure of participating. What I will say is that if they remain on school grounds, fortunately for our districts, 13 and 3, I think we have sufficient people to cover them while they're on school grounds. I'm in full agreement that they're sitting ducks, because with these, these little weirdos out there that, do these little sexual predator things and just the psychos, I do agree. But I'm confident in the security and the staff that they have, that while they're on school grounds, they'll be protected. I don't like the pressure, and I don't like a child feeling like in order to fit in, I have to make a stand, or I have to, because this may be an issue that I just choose. It's too personal. I just don't want to get into. I'm uncomfortable. I don't really understand it. There's so many dynamics, so many. Yeah. That's the part that I have a problem with.
Well, my kids are graduated now, but my question would be, if my kids were still in school, is now that all these protests are like the norm these days, but how much time are these kids allotted to walk out when they want to protest something? How much, how much are they taken away from these other kids that don't want to leave the classroom? They don't want to take away from their education. I mean, there is a lot of questions.
Well, it's taking away. It's a distraction.
Away from the curriculum, because it's certainly not in the curriculum.
And like what Dana said, it's making them feel pressured to go along, just to get along.
And if they, I agree. Like, if you feel like something is wrong, by all means, you stand up. But the next thing we're gonna have a walkout because they serve tuna fish on Tuesday. Because to somebody, that's a valid reason to walk out. I don't like tuna fish. I don't like mayo. I don't like, you know what I mean?
Well, where does it end? Where's the bottom? I mean,
where do we draw the line?
I think all these things could be done after school hours. Put something together, plan something on social media, or plan something during school, and be done off of school grounds.
I'm so tired of them using the schools.
Exactly. And how do you know that they're not just using anything, like they don't like tuna fish, to get out of class? And then you disrupt all those kids in that classroom.
And I know most of them will be able to vote soon, but legitimately, it's a national issue. It's being put out there. They can't vote yet. So get out of the schools. And I'm so sick of the politics. the politics, just the national politics, do not belong in the schools. There's so many other ways in it. And, you know, I was talking to somebody who's on the complete opposites of the political spectrum than I am. In fact, I will go so far as to say this person has unfriended me on Facebook. And we had a lovely conversation today. And she contacted me because of the walkout. And she didn't agree with it. And she's sick of the politics being in the school. And this is somebody on, like I said, unfriended me during the election because total opposite. And one of the things that we started talking about is that the adults aren't modeling the type of behavior. So it's no wonder that the children are getting so out of control over you have to admit, everything's just, it's a circus now, and it's out of control and it's over the top. So it's no wonder if the adults in the room can't model how to behave and be with each other and how to interact. It's no wonder that the kids are. And so I can't even imagine if the politics is in there and these kids are walking out now, what dynamic is going on now that we've really separated the people who have the stars on the belly and the people who don't.
I find here's my problem with what you just said, right? You and I are not on the same spectrum politically. We have some things in common, but there's some things we just harshly disagree about, especially when it comes to local politics.
Yes.
I have never once had an argument with you where we've never had an argument. We may have had a debate, a strong debate. We never had an argument. I've never put it in a position. You never put it in a position where we had to unfriend one another.
Never.
So if that is your behavior as an adult, I would have to take a step back if you want to approach me, because you don't get to pick and choose when you want to play kumbaya. My political view should not have anything to do with our friendship, unless it was never a friendship. Because of course, if you are someone that's going to unfriend me because I voted for someone, of course your child, I would assume your child is, very liberal and they're not going to like certain things either. So they might want to walk out for everything else. That's my problem. Like we don't get to pick and choose. You have to stand. What do you want to do? What initiative are you going to send to your children? And I can say that because in my house, we all know I'm a Republican. My son, my oldest son, who's 22, is a conservative. My daughter is a bleeding heart liberal. And my parents, both are Democrats. So we let you choose what you want to do. But we don't let political things get... That's the most asinine thing that I've heard of, someone not being friends with someone just because of who you voted for. I'm sorry. It
got really heated with you and I, which sometimes it does. It was on your wall. I forget what the subject matter, but it was definitely something with national politics. And it was so funny because it got so heated. I think it was Glenn. He jumped in and he thought like he had to break it up.
He was like, ladies.
We're like, we're fine. Like, but it gets to the point with us sometimes where other people watching may think like, we need to throw some cold water on this situation. I've known you a really long time now, and we've always had political differences. It has never gotten to the point where I would cut you out of my life, where I would unfriend you.
That's foolish. That's foolish to me. I mean, healthy debate is what we need. Yeah. I need to hear your viewpoint. I need to hear her viewpoint. Let me hear my viewpoint. Maybe we can change ideas. Maybe we can't. But we at least get to hear each other. We don't all have to agree.
No.
But that doesn't mean that you're wrong or I can't stand you or my kids can't play with your kids because of who you voted for. I base off how you live your life. Right. Who you vote for is who you think can run the government effectively. That doesn't mean that that's how you run your life. I look at how you are every day. That's how I base a friendship. So if you can unfriend me just off of political reasons, I wouldn't call you a friend to begin with.
I must confess that I've definitely blocked a few of your friends and Lisa's too. But anyways, that was the beauty of what we started to do here. Oh, and you know who it was. because I told you. Mm-hmm.
God.
But that's the beauty of what we do here is that we're not supposed to agree. I told you I was funny at the beginning, didn't I? I warned you.
Something's wrong with you.
Hilarious.
I blocked some of your friends. I'm just kidding. Full disclosure.
To be fair, you have blocked some of mine.
Yeah, I mean, only one though. Only one. I think it's two.
And you know what's really funny? One of the ones that you blocked, you got along with his alias account. I was dying. I'm like, it's the same guy she blocked. Now she likes him. He
probably was calling me the
yes.
C word. Yeah.
Yes, he called you the C word.
Gotta go.
He admitted he said he was heavy in his cups that night. And I woke up to all these messages on my wall, and I yelled at him firmly in an inbox, but I still didn't unfriend him. But I thought it was funny. So it's okay. We're equal. You block my friends, I block yours. We still love each other.
Oh yeah, I mean.
So from the March for Our Lives to this new walkout, which brings us into, you were somewhere today. You were all over the place lately.
I am. We definitely, the NAACP is having elections, and we are in need of some redirection. So I am definitely trying to scout out some new potential officers and things of that nature, but also just to get back into the swing of things. I'm sure everybody knows by now I am studying to be a civil rights attorney. So I'm just trying to get a feel of things and get my hands wet with, a few different local issues first. Tonight I was at something called the Community Conversation that is held at the Enrichment Center. I'm sorry, the Huntington Resource Center, which was the old Enrichment Center.
Okay.
And the new inspector was there with his deputy, and they had a few things going on. And the new inspector's very handsome.
I was gonna say, can you add in what you said earlier that he was
very handsome? He's very blunt. He's easy on the eyes. And
super young.
He appears super young, and he has a nice personality. I was impressed. I was more looking at him like, oh, I could listen to him. I hope what he's saying is right, but I could listen to him. So
I met him at the National Night Out. He's very, very nice.
And he's approachable, and I like that. I think that's something that we miss. And I definitely I didn't dislike Hatton, but Hatton wasn't the friendliest person in the world. This one is a little bit different. He has a whole different demeanor. So I was very pleased with him. And I didn't like the fact that this was my first time, but they have it every month. I did like some of the things that they brought up, which was they had 8 gang-related incidents and arrests.
What? In the last 2 weeks?
He does his on a month-to-month basis,
so
which I thought was really cool.
Gang-related.
And we also, MS-13 is still an issue because he had a search warrant arrest with the MS-13 person, and while it has declined significantly, it's nothing. Don't ever think that it's completely done. He said it's still a major issue. They're still focusing on it, and they're still working on it. And I'm sure with the unfortunate passing of Evelyn Rodriguez, and without the details being fully disclosed to the public, I'm sure this particular MS-13 will not die down anytime soon. I just think that, it was unfortunate that she lost her life 2 years to when her daughter lost her life in such a horrific way, that it's going to force people to still address the issue. Because, we have a tendency of making a big deal and then everything is a little quiet after a while. So we talked about those things. We also talked about SRO officers.
For those who don't know what an SRO is.
It's the Student Resource Officer. In our district, that particular officer is known as Officer Drew. I've only heard prior to this whole MS-13 issue, I've only heard pleasant things about the Officer Drew. He once received an award from the NAACP, which I'm an active member. I am on the executive committee and their branch secretary. So I get to keep some of those records, and I've only heard positive things. I will say that my children personally have never had too much involvement with him, but I've heard positive things. However, there is a film out, and it's called the Gang Crackdown film that was produced by Frontline. And that particular film...
Yeah. Was it? It was PBS. And just, I think it's been updated. So if anybody has already watched this a while ago, I rewatched it again today when Dana started speaking about it. And it seems to be updated because they mentioned the last murder in this one, which was way before the original production, the one that didn't get much play, which was April 11th, 2017. The 4 boys that were just completely chopped up and dismembered. Go ahead.
So in this film, The Gang Crackdown, it depicts the officers, the SRO officers, in a different light. And it brings a different perspective. The Gang Crackdown film focuses on the Latino undocumented individual's perspective. And it paints a very unsavory picture for Huntington High School. And why do I say I'm not singling out any high school?
That's no, they focus on it, and they focus on it.
I can't. And when you get the information, Huntington comes up more than any other. So that's another story. Okay. I was fortunate enough to have the actual superintendent. Is he the superintendent or the principal? Polanski is the superintendent.
Polanski, yeah, he's the and he's
the superintendent, though, right?
He's the superintendent of Huntington Schools.
So he was there. I was fortunate enough to have him at this actual meeting when I questioned about the SRO officer. But he's also in his to give him accolades, he's also at every meeting, I found out.
I told him he's one of triplets. He's everywhere.
Yeah, he is. He definitely, I'm finding that he is. And then I was fortunate enough to have a conversation after, when everyone else left, and he was kind enough to stay. We had a decent conversation. But while we were in the meeting, I did ask, what is the purpose of these SR officers? Because I hear you giving them such praise. I hear the officers giving them such praise. But when we showed this film to 5 minority students, they became so upset that one student had to leave the film. And I think it was the 3 others, they're all, with the exception of one from Huntington High School, was so upset about what they saw. What is going on? Because you're telling me they're so great, but these kids are saying something totally different.
Well, Dana, I watched it last year, what I believe to be the original PBS special that they did. Okay. And I watched it again today.
Okay.
And I had a level of discomfort after I watched it. I felt jarred. I really did. I mean, and but Lisa, I want you to jump in here. You want to tell people how many resource officers we have in the town and how many schools we have.
Well, when my kids all went through Whitman, and all those years we only had one, and that was Officer Drew.
And Dana, how many schools does he service?
From my understanding, he services Huntington, South Huntington, Harbor Fields, and I want to go out on a limb and say Green Lawn.
And do you remember last year after the March for Our Lives, and Cuomo came in and wanted to put state troopers, okay? And that made the news, and that was a big deal, and we never got the state troopers. But the one thing that Mr. Polanski, what did he say that we needed?
We needed more SRO officers.
And that was all we needed. More, like, we need 2 per school. And I'm not talking like every elementary, every preschool. I'm talking about 8 schools in our school district. 4 of them are serviced by one resource officer, 3 or 4. I may have that number wrong. I don't mind retracting it on a next episode if somebody wants to send us.
What do you mean? What do you mean 3 or 4?
I don't know if it's 3 schools or 4 schools. I'm pretty sure. I'm almost 100% sure
4.
3 schools that Officer Drew services, not just schools, districts. And we have
I think that number's way off, because just in 13 alone, you have the high school, you have Stimson, and you have Solacewoods. Those are 3 schools.
No, we have 8 school districts within our town as a whole. He services 4 school districts with multiple schools per district.
How are you servicing anyone when you're sitting in your car most of the time commuting? How much servicing are you actually doing?
So when we talk about, the level of accountability for Officer Drew, he's stretched. So
that's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
That's putting it mildly.
So you were at the meeting. I wasn't there at all. Only you're going to be able to talk about it. But I did want to get that in because, when we talk about a resource officer at the school, I think there's an assumption that there's automatically one in each school. And people don't realize we have 1 in 4 in half of the school districts in a town full of 225,000 people.
Yeah, I never knew that until we started doing this. I never knew that.
I think also he's not only is he stretched thin. What is his purpose? One group says his purpose is this. Another group says his purpose is that. It just becomes overly complicated. And then you add on the fact that he's servicing basically the entire world. Of course, that's a stretch, but he might as well be searching the entire world. And honestly, if you really sit down and think about it, if he's servicing, what we know for a fact is Huntington, South Huntington, and Harbor Fields. We know that for a fact. So let's work with that.
I thought it was Northport also, but we know what we have. So let's say great.
So let's say we know for a fact that he's in those. So let's just say he's servicing those schools. How effective can he be? Because Lisa just made a point that I didn't even think about. How do you commute between Huntington, South Huntington, Harborfield, and still do something effectively? Because you're driving from whatever.
Going in an emergency when all of a sudden you've got a security officer at such and such high school saying, well, this one's doing all sorts of gang signs and he's written stuff. And that security person has to hold until officer. And what if he has an issue at another school?
It's too much. It's too much on one person. And then I think with that being said, you can't really get an accurate description of what he's supposed to be doing, because he can't possibly be effectively doing what he's supposed to do, servicing all those schools, unless he's Superman. And if that's the case, then okay. But unless he's Superman, then there's no way he can effectively do his job. And actually, then they're putting him at a disservice, because what happens if something happens really bad and he's stretched so thin? He needs to be able to react.
They're setting him up to fail, or because
he doesn't have a jetpack, Dana. So he doesn't have a jetpack. So now factor in all that traffic, which we all know is absolutely ridiculous.
And somebody said to me, and I'm sorry, this is because I travel every morning now on the road in Dix Hills with a Deer Park Road.
Deer Park.
I use that, and I remember when they were going to do the Velodrome, and they said, "Oh, the traffic won't be a problem." Every morning I'm on that highway. On that lane at 7:45 every morning. It is disgusting.
Yeah.
And not to mention, I have to cross through St. Anthony's, West Hills, and then I get over there. It is bananas. So like you said, unless he has a jetpack, how the heck is he reaching all these places? And how is he not run down? Because that's a lot. And he's dealing with kids, teenagers.
And still has a personal life, I hope, on top of it all. I don't
know if he does. Because I don't know if his wife or his partner would want to deal with that. Because that's a lot of stress to bring home.
Well, if he's divorced, we know why.
I died. I came back. I'm sorry. What is wrong with her? Something is wrong with her. I'm just not going to talk for the rest of the time.
I just state the obvious.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong.
It's true.
No, do not encourage her, Lisa. No, we talked about this. Don't encourage her.
So isn't there a re-showing of, and I think when I watched it today, the gang crackdown, it said this was originally aired, but some of the things, what did I say?
February 13th,
Since
2016.
there was 25 murders since 2016, right?
Yes, that's what it said. I'm sure there's more.
Started in 2014 after the unaccompanied minor program was instituted. We received here in Suffolk over 5,000 as per Tim Sinney.
That's the streamers, right?
And the last
thing,
I think that number is
low. I think he was lowballing it too.
Very.
Because that's just Suffolk. I mean, Nassau got like double, I heard, than we got. And Hempstead, they're like, their school is bankrupted now. And the last murder, MS-13 murder, which changed since Sinney ran for office, because before he had said the last murder was in 2016, so that's changed now. There were the four boys that I mentioned earlier on April 11th, 2017. And that has been in the news recently because they caught the people who they think did it. And yes, they were part of the unaccompanied minor program. They were able to trace them back to. So
I won't dare, because of the climate and the climate and the community we live in. I won't address the unaccompanied minors. What I will say is that
we're going to have to, because we got something else coming up with that.
To say that only 5,000 came, when you can pull the school records. Look at Southampton, or one of the Hamptons, who had like 0.1% Latino population. I think they now have like 23%.
The last 2 years, because you know how they do the census at school with enrollment, so we don't have to wait for that census is coming out in 2020. I think people are in for a big shock. But
yes,
the last 2 years, the enrollment in Huntington High School, Hispanics are the majority. And then white is next, and then black went down like 2 percentage points, which is a lot for the black community, which was a small percentage to begin with. It was sitting at like 13. I think it went down to like 11 or 10, which shows that a lot of the housing is becoming unaffordable and everything else. And we're chasing out people who've been here a long time. I've seen a lot of people who lived here a long time that are getting chased out, but that's for a whole nother show for us to get into when we circle back on Renaissance.
And I also think a lot of, being from an African-American, background, we're not just leaving because of affordability. We're just tired of dealing with racism. Sorry. Tired of dealing with all that.
This is the most segregated community I've ever lived in my life. And I think people who have lived here their whole lives, they will never see it because this is just normal to them. And a lot of it is
sad.
When you drive through town, you'll see there's a pocket of where all the black people live in this area, and then all the Spanish people live in this area. And then you see the pockets. You got a lot of the older people or the blue collar people, white people here in Huntington Station, and then the upper rich people north. South Huntington has an area called the Triangle. It's
very sad. And I think, like you said, the people who have lived here all their life, I hate to say this, and I'm sure I'll get feedback, I find some of them to be the most backwards people I've ever met. They say the dumbest things, and I'm just like, I don't even respond anymore.
There's a separation of reality.
They can't. I stop getting upset and I stop addressing it because they don't see what it is, and it's like, I have a good friend, Susan, and her daughter is she's lived here a significant amount of time. She knows a lot about the town, and her daughter is engaged in an interracial relationship. I think she's one of the most down to earth people that I know. But I think, and she's lived here all the majority of her life, if I'm not mistaken. But I think she's like that because of the relationship her daughter has had, and she's just, you know, forced to do certain things. But it's really sad. So a lot of people like myself, I don't really necessarily, once my kids graduate, I don't necessarily want to stay here because I don't have to deal with it. I can go live somewhere else and be fine. I just don't want to uproot my kids in high school and bring them here and there. But a lot of people have that same feeling. Well,
but according to Andrew Cuomo, but Andrew Cuomo said that people aren't leaving because of the affordability factor. They're leaving because of the weather. He said that.
But you know what? He could have a point. He could have a point. But when he says things like that, I always, like I tell my friends, you know, I'm talking about here on Earth where I live. I don't know where he lives. Maybe on his planet, so he's entitled. But here where the rest of us live, I'm not moving from New York because of the weather.
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee you that part.
Me neither. I'm leaving because of, you know, I'm not leaving. But if I leave, my poor husband, he's going to watch this later and be like, "You're leaving?" I got to clear that up now. I know. What did we
say
do?
that last time?
I forgot to. It's going to rain tonight, just so you know.
What?
It's going to rain tonight, just so you know.
Oh, we got to go. Pack. It's been flooding a lot.
It has been. It really has been.
Especially Northport. I wanted to show that whole thing.
What was going on in Northport?
Why does it do that?
I don't know. I don't ever remember it being so bad. It was always Huntington and never Northport. And now all I'm seeing is Northport and not Huntington anymore.
The more asphalt you put down and the more you build, the less places the water has to go. So it becomes stormwater runoff, which captures all the crap and everything on the streets and goes into your bays because it can't seep into the ground anymore.
Well, we had it now. Wait, hold on. Because I was on Melville Road, and between Peter Andrews and they're doing some type of construction, that road was disgusting. It was a different color. It was a rust color. That was one. And then when you got closer towards Peter Andrew, and you guys know I have a huge SUV. The water was so high that it was setting off my sensors, alerting me that something was too close to my car.
Well, this is all the flash flooding that's coming from Florence. You wouldn't know it that South Carolina they're still evacuating people from flooding, and you wouldn't know it because the news isn't covering it at all.
Still flooding.
Still flooding because it came in this way. And then this is all the stuff that was hitting us. That's all from Florence. Very heavy storm. But it goes up in the mountains and then it washes back down from the mountains. So they're getting it from both ends, which is crazy.
And what you don't see either is all the fish once the waters have receded, all the tons and tons and hundreds of tons of fish that are dead now because they're all on the road.
And who's going to clean that up? Oh.
Well, you know. Who's going to clean it up in Florida? Okay, the gang crackdown. Cinema Arts is doing a showing again on October 16th, right, Dana?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to quickly, we've only got a little bit left. And
gosh, we're just getting back into the groove, finally.
Well, you know, I got to tell you, this was a good one, too. Going back into the illegal immigrants issue, Ralph Calamusi from the Thatch Cottage. He just pick it up, Lisa.
Well, as per Newsday, Ralph Calamusi has admitted to a federal court that he, what's the wording? He was
housing forced labor.
He was forcing labor on Filipinos and threatening them.
Which, by the way, were illegal immigrants.
Yes.
What do you mean forcing labor?
He was forced labor. He wasn't paying them enough, and he would threaten them and say, you know, if you leave, if you tell.
And they were living there.
Bad things are going to happen.
Oh, my God.
He had a bunch.
Now, he'll be back in federal court for sentencing on December 7th.
Federal offense.
And he could face up to 20 years. And he's 64 years old now. So who knows what will happen.
I don't care how old you are. You could be.
Oh, no, I don't care either. I'm just making a statement.
No, she's just basically saying he's going to die there, pretty much.
He could be facing 20.
Yeah. No, I know what you were saying. I got what you, but I always hear people, oh, he's 60. I don't care how old he is. I don't care. Because did you care about those people? You know, I mean, like, how do you hold, that to me is just so, like, did you think that you would never get caught?
And just so you know how swampy our own personal swamp is here.
Oh, Lord.
His sister still runs his sister's still employed at the town, Janet Brinker. She's in charge of, it's losing it right now. Public safety. Is it public safety?
I forgot.
His sister is still, and so when we talk about, you know, what's going on over there and stuff, it is swampy because she's a Democrat and she was under the Democratic rule. So it's just crazy that you get, like, when you come, that's why things just, but there was something that was going on with town that put that business out of business before it happened. And that exposed a lot of what was going on. So not only was Ralph doing really creepy things, but he was aided by other people at town that were doing creepy things and trying to hurt the creep that was doing creepy things. They were all very, very creepy together. So I just think nobody should ever forget that the town had a part in forcing him into the bankruptcy over completely other issues, because that's a very valuable piece of property. I took you there. Remember, Dana? We went
safe to say it's one big creepy orgy.
It's a big creepy daisy chain, I think. That circle jerk. Okay. We can say that, can't we? We can say that these days. Have you seen some of the segments they've been doing on CNN and our president's junk?
Not wrong, Dana. I'm not wrong.
Why can't we say, if CNN can dedicate an entire segment to President Trump's goodies, we could say daisy chain. It's actually pretty tame.
Hey, ex the Garden City Hotel for their records. I'm sure you'd be really surprised.
Yeah. So, Tina, you want to just touch on that drug awareness?
I think she fell off the chair.
Okay, I guess we'll be skipping that part of our segment.
Yes, we have to. I can't contain myself.
I think I saw Anderson Cooper actually going, it was this big. Like a little pacifier for the baby.
Now that's creepy.
Over there. They are rotten over there.
That's creepy.
So disrespectful. I interrupt because I get excited and I realize that I do it and I stop myself, or I feel, you know, because whatever, that's just how I am. I just watch this and they interrupt and I can't, they do it on Fox too. I watch them all. When they start interrupting each other, it's so irritating to me. Yeah. Bring people on your show to talk to them. I want to hear their answers. Don't lead the conversation. It's so frustrating and okay. Opioid crisis that you went to, and then we'll go.
Yeah,
home.
That was really, you know, all jokes aside, I always find it very interesting when I go to a town hall event and I can see that there's only standing rooms because some animals are being mistreated, and we have to have a 4-hour, 3-hour town hall meeting, yes. Right? And then when it's a meeting concerning our kids, because I don't care if you're rich, you're poor, you're black, you're white, whatever it is, drug addiction has touched us, either not us directly, somebody we've known. There was no reason that it was a well-attended event, but it was no reason why that town hall was not packed. And I'm going to tell you some of the things that they talked about, I didn't even know. Like, they have this thing called fentanyl that they mix with the heroin, and that causes people to have an overdose. I didn't even know what fentanyl was. I thought it was a pill, and then powder. Actually, tonight the new inspector broke down what fentanyl was. But they also talked about vaping, and what I thought was really cool was that they had these 2 kids that were in recovery. So they had a panel, and they broke the panel down to, you know, the healthcare, the addiction, all different things. But the ones I did like the police officer's presentation, but the ones that I remember the most were the two kids that had they were in recovery. And it was so awesome to see. One was using drugs since he was 9. So it brings since he was 9. It brings a certain awareness. And then the other young lady, she said that she was so heavy into her addiction in high school. I have a high schooler. So it just brings a realization that no one is above this, right? And everyone should have been there to at least get the information. They talked.
Do you know if it was recorded?
It was supposed to be. He did. One of the panelists did say it was recorded because they spoke about vaping. And then the guy in recovery and the girl said that there's not enough programs. They only have one, I think, called Thrive or something, or Drive, and it's all the way out in Hauppauge, and it's only one. How many one? And he said he helped 8,000 people, but when you have 72,000 people affected directly by heroin, 8,000 doesn't even do a dent.
Did they mention that Suffolk County is #1 in opioid overdoses out of the entire state of New York?
Oh
I'm sure they did. And I wouldn't be surprised, because after some of the things that I heard, it was really enlightening. And for someone who considers themselves to be in tune, especially because I have 2 older children, I have a middle child, and have 2 younger kids, I try to stay on top of things. I didn't know anything about a fentanyl. I knew about vaping, but my kids told me one thing, and I got the real deal. So my college kids will be having a talk about that.
Can I tell you, it's not just kids. I know someone in their mid-40s.
Who vapes?
No, just decided that let's get an addiction with.
Well, you know, for them, I can't. It's not that I don't have sympathy for.
But it's not just children. Like,
yeah, but it's like
I think like an adult can go their whole life and then get 45 years old and get involved with it too. So yes, we definitely have to micro focus on our children and teaching them. But even with those teachings later on in life, people can still have issues.
Yeah, you can, but I think realistically, if you're 45 and you made that decision, I would be more inclined to help somebody who's 15, 16 than somebody who's 45, because at 45, you're an adult.
Yeah,
you've lived more than half of it. You lived your life. These kids have at least a fighting chance of rehab. And if you saw these 2 kids that were there, it would give you just a sense of like, this is something that can work.
Right.
If we just give them the tools that they need.
Well, you know, Dom Spada runs a program. I think he does it monthly. It's called the Be Smart, Don't Start program.
Okay.
And he still does that. That goes around. It's great to have, you know, the forums. I'm glad they taped it. So hopefully we'll get that up if we find it and put it out there for everyone. But there's also places you can go and get together with other kids and stuff like that.
That's cool.
He runs a really great program. But ladies.
We love you, Dom. Well, I do.
I love you, Dom. Lisa, where's your fire hat? We never got you a firefighter.
No.
We might be able to get you an inspector, girl. You moved up the food chain. Because Leah's fine. He's not handsome. He's fine. That's the difference.
I haven't met him yet.
You will. I'll definitely introduce you. Make sure look with your good lipstick on, and you know how you make yourself look all good. I'm making sure you're there that day.
I got a hat that says "I Heart Cops" on it. I don't know where I got it.
Okay, we're not inviting Jenny to that event, obviously.
But I got all sorts of hats. I have hats for every occasion. Some of them are not even my hats.
Can I bring my handcuffs?
Wow.
Lisa, we need to get him hooked first. What are you doing?
I'm kidding. I'm
We're
kidding.
getting him hooked. I'm bringing this one home.
I'm kidding. But listen, speaking about police commissioners, inspectors, excuse me. The next meeting is October 2nd. It's a Tuesday at 7 p.m. at the library.
You should be there.
That's the next one. I'm going. I'm there.
And so I can introduce you.
I'm there. October 2nd.
Wear something red. It's a good color for you.
Don't listen to Jenny. I think it's time for you to close the show, Jenny. I don't know.
Okay. I do have this lovely pink dress for you.
Oh, God. Lord, help her.
I do. No, it's really pretty. She saw it already. She loves it. It's got a little flat. It's too small for my top. Okay. So on that note, I can't believe I don't get to say see you next Tuesday anymore.
I know.
What was my favorite line?
Next Wednesday. It doesn't.
I would see you next Wednesday. And that just doesn't spell anything.
But we'll take it.
Okay. So we are definitely back. And nobody has any final thoughts. But we hope everyone enjoyed tonight's Huntington View. And we'll see everyone next Wednesday. Have a good evening, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Good night.